Hello everybody, today we are taking our free session for one of the IELTS skills of the reading tests. Okay, so today we are taking true, false, not given. How to answer true, false, not given questions presented by Haidar Al-Qasir, by me. You will have a long passage about some subject. After the passage, there will be some statements. What you need to do is to decide if each statement is a true, false, or not given based on the passage. What you need to do first is to read these statements, then look for the information in the passage and decide. Now we are going to explain how to do that. True. How to decide this statement is true? If the fact is clearly written or written as a synonym. Is the fact is clearly written, that means you see it with your eyes, or written as a synonym in the passage, and the information matches the statement, they write true. We often see synonyms. If you know the fact is true and you don't see it clearly in the passage, do not write true. That means if the information if you know the information is true, but you cannot see it clearly written in the passage, do not write true. For example, if you have in the passage, in the text, this increase in cybercrime has alarmed many experts. And the question, the statement says, cybercrime is on the rise. The statement here is true. Why? The question here is how to decide if this is true or not. Read the statement. Underline the synonyms. Synonyms are different words but they give the same meaning. And underline any key words. We notice here cybercrime is a keyword and on the rise is a keyword too. After underlining the keywords, go back to the reading passage and quickly scan it to look for the words or the synonyms of them. We notice here that cybercrime is mentioned in both statements clearly, and we can find the synonym of on the rise, and that is this increase. So both the statement and the sentence in the passage give the same meaning, in which we decided the statement is true. Look for contradictions. Please pay attention to this point. Look for contradictions such as some, only, never, usually, all, etc. Because those contradictions change the meaning. For example, some people in England like tea with milk. Tea with milk is always preferred by British people. In this case, the statement will be false. Why? Because the sentence in the passage says some, while the sentence in the statement means always. So the information will be different here. Some is different from always. This is how they sometimes try to trick you in the IELTS. False. We come to the second part, false. If the fact is clearly written but gives different or wrong information, it's false. Or when we have a contradiction that changes the meaning, as we explained previously. For example, the first personal computer was invented in the 1970s. Personal computers were first invented in 1990. We have in the text 1970s, we have in the question in the statement 1990. So the statement here is false because it gives wrong information. Another example, some children should eat broccoli all children should eat broccoli. The sentence is false because we have some in the passage and all in the statement. So the information in the statement does not match, although the sentences say children should eat broccoli. Why? Because some is different from all. And as I told you previously, this is how they try to trick you in the IELTS test. Now we come to the most difficult part, not given. When the fact is not written, nor was no wrong information written either. In this case, do not deduce. That means do not try to guess. It's simply not given, which means the information is not mentioned in the passage. Let us repeat. When you don't see the fact, whether it's true or false, do not try to guess by yourself. It's simply not given. Although we have an example here, although once eradicated from Toronto, bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered one of the leading pests in the city. The statement says, rats are the most common nuisance Torontonians face. The statement here is not given because the sentence in the passage talks about bed bugs and it says are one of the leading pests. One of the leading pests. That means we have several leading pests and this is one of it. While the statement talks about rats and it says the most common nuisance. So when you have here bed bugs are one of the leading pests, it doesn't say it's the leading pest or not. While the question says rats are the most leading common nuisance, which means the leading pests. So we cannot decide whether this statement is a true or false. In this case, it will be not given. If we have them as, although once eradicated from Toronto, bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered one of the leading pests in the city. Rats are one of the most common nuisance Torontonians face. The statement here is also not given because the sentence in the passage talks about bed bugs and it says are one of the leading pests. One of the leading pests. While the statement talks about rats and it says one of the most common nuisance, which means also one of the leading pests. So this is one of and this is one of. So it doesn't say this one is or this one is. So in this case also it's not given. But please pay attention to this one. If we have them as, although once eradicated from Toronto, bed bugs have made a comeback and are now considered the leading pests in the city. We omitted one of the leading pests. Rats are the most common nuisance Torontonians face. The statement here is false. Why? Because the sentence in the passage talks about bed bugs and it says are the leading pests. That means they control. While the statement talks about rats and it says the most common nuisance. So using one of in the passage made the difference. So in this case we have wrong information. In this case the statement or the question will be false. Let us take another example here. The first personal computer was invented in the 1970s. 1970s we have time duration from 70 to 71. Could be 7 to 79, sorry. Could be 70, 71, 72, 73 and so on. The question says, personal computers were first invented in 1970. In the text, 1970s. In the question, 1970. The statement here is not given because the sentence in the passage says 1970s. The S means time duration of 10 years, that is from 70 to 79. While the statement here specified the year. even if the statement says 71 or 73 and so on, but if it gives a year which is not from the time duration, it will be false, as we explained previously. Okay, but if we have them as the first personal computer was invented in 1976, for example, 72, 73, 79, 70. Personal computers were first invented in the 1970s. The statement, which means the question here, is true. Because if the year is specified in the text passage and we have the time duration in the statement, the question, in which the year is within, the statement is true. Now we come to the end of our explanation. If you have any questions, please just ask. If you want me to re-explain something, please just ask. Okay? No questions? Thank you very much. So in this case, we are going to take a rest for 5 minutes, then we will take a text as an example. Thank you.